Part 1, The Desperate Call. The alarm pierced through every communication channel in the Galactic Council's central chamber. It was not the usual soft chime that announced routine transmissions. This was the emergency frequency, the one reserved for catastrophic events that demanded immediate attention from every species in the assembly. Ambassador Kelran of the Zenari pressed his crystalline hand against the console, his translucent fingers trembling as he tried to stabilize the incoming signal. The holographic display above the chamber floor flickered violently before resolving into a scene that made every delegate's blood run cold. Fire consumed the mining colony of Zentera 7. Buildings that had stood for 3 generations collapsed under sustained weapons fire. Ships attempted to lift off from landing pads, only to be torn apart mid-flight by streams of crimson energy that laced through the atmosphere like deadly ribbons. The screams came through the audio feed, high-pitched wails of terror mixed with the thunderous explosions that marked each new target destroyed. Kelran recognized the architecture immediately. These were his people. The Zenari were known throughout the galaxy as master miners and peaceful traders. They had no standing military, no weapons beyond basic security measures. Their entire philosophy centered on cooperation and mutual benefit. They had never harmed anyone. That made them perfect prey. The Krell Devastators arrive. Through the smoke and chaos, the attackers became visible. Massive angular vessels descended through Zentera VII's atmosphere, their hulls painted in harsh geometric patterns that seemed to absorb light itself. The Krell Devastators had found another victim. Military Coordinator Vex, a 4-armed breen with silver scales and calculating red eyes, pulled up tactical data on his personal screen. His expression, already grim, darkened further as the numbers populated across his display. Confirmed identification, Vex announced, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent chamber. Krell War Fleet, designation Devastator Group Theta. Ship count currently at 4,200 vessels. Classification ranges from fighter craft to dreadnought-class battleships. A wave of horrified murmuring rippled through the assembled delegates. The Krell were nomads, a species that had abandoned planetary life centuries ago to roam the galaxy in massive fleets. They sustained themselves through conquest, stripping worlds of resources and enslaving or eliminating populations they deemed inferior. For 8 decades, they had terrorized the outer regions of Council space. And for 8 decades, the Council had failed to stop them. "How long until our defense fleet can arrive?" someone shouted from the upper tiers of the chamber. Vex consulted his data again, and the pause before he spoke told everyone what they needed to know. The nearest Council battle group is the 7th Fleet, currently stationed at the Kelmar Junction. At maximum sustained speed, they could reach Zentera 7 in 23 days. 23 days. Everyone in the chamber understood what that meant. The Krell would be finished with Zentera 7 in less than a day. They would strip the colony of anything valuable, eliminate the population, and vanish into deep space long before help arrived. Diplomatic options exhausted. "What about the Tauranian Empire?" suggested a delegate with pale blue skin and elaborate head crests. "Their territory borders that sector. They could respond faster." "The Tauranians are currently engaged in their sacred isolation period," Vex replied flatly. "Their response to our emergency request was a polite message reminding us that they will not break religious observance for external matters. They will consider our request in 47 days when their isolation period ends." Another voice spoke up, this one belonging to a Sivith representative whose tentacles writhed with agitation. "The Merchant Consortium has private security forces throughout that region. Perhaps they could be convinced to intervene for appropriate compensation." Kelran felt his hope flicker briefly before Vex crushed it with his response. "The Consortium assessed the situation 17 minutes ago. They determined that engaging the Krell would result in unacceptable losses to their assets. They have withdrawn all their forces from the sector to avoid confrontation." Of course they had. The Merchant Consortium valued profit above all else, and there was no profit in sacrificing expensive warships for a colony that could not pay for protection. It was coldly logical and utterly heartless. On the holographic display, another section of the colony exploded. Kelrin could see small figures running through the streets, trying desperately to reach emergency shelters. Some made it. Most did not. The Krell fighters strafed the streets with methodical precision, eliminating anything that moved. These were his people. His genetic cousins. Some of them might even be distant relatives he had never met. And he was going to watch them die from light years away, helpless to do anything but witness their final moments. An unexpected voice. What about the humans? The voice cut through the despair like a blade. Every head in the chamber turned toward the source. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in the human delegation section, her hand raised. She was tall for her species, with dark hair pulled back in a practical style and brown eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. Humans had joined the Galactic Council only 3 years ago, barely long enough to establish proper diplomatic protocols. Most species still regarded them as newcomers, interesting curiosities from a death world who had somehow achieved faster-than-light travel without destroying themselves. Vex blinked his red eyes slowly, processing the suggestion. The humans? Ambassador Vasquez, with all respect, your species has no proven combat record in space warfare. The Krell Devastators have eliminated entire armadas commanded by species with centuries of military experience. Elena stepped forward, moving down the curved steps toward the chamber floor. Her footsteps echoed in the tense silence. Our Terran response fleet completed full operational trials 2 months ago. We have been conducting extended patrol exercises in the 7th quadrant. That puts us approximately 5 light-years from Zentera 7. A ripple of surprise moved through the delegates. 5 light-years was close, relatively speaking. But even at the fastest speeds known to Council technology, that distance represented weeks of travel time. The Luminary Concordance representative, a being of pure energy contained within a geometric crystal matrix, pulsed with colors that translated as concern. Ambassador Vasquez, the Krell fleet numbers over 4,000 vessels. Even if your fleet could arrive in time, what could you possibly accomplish against such overwhelming force? Elena reached the chamber floor and looked up at the holographic display showing Zentera 7 burning. Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. We can try. That is more than anyone else is offering. Human capabilities questioned. Vex pulled up data on his console, his clawed fingers moving with practiced speed. According to our records, the Terran response fleet consists of 52 combat vessels. Various classes including destroyers, corvettes, and carrier craft. He looked at Elena with something that might have been sympathy. Ambassador, the mathematics are not favorable. The Krell outnumber your entire fleet almost 80 to 1. Then we will need to be 80 times smarter than them, Elena replied simply. A delegate from the Praxian Collective, a species known for their mathematical precision, spoke up with obvious skepticism. The human species has been space-capable for only 117 years. You have no documented engagement with hostile forces beyond your own system. What makes you believe you can succeed where established military powers have failed? Elena turned to face the Praxian delegate directly. Because we have spent the last 10,000 years learning how to kill each other. We became very, very good at it. When we finally stopped fighting ourselves and looked outward, we took all those lessons with us. The bluntness of her statement sent another wave of murmuring through the chamber. Most council species found humanity's violent history disturbing. They had evolved as herd creatures or prey species, developing cooperation as their primary survival mechanism. Humanity had evolved differently. They were persistence predators from a Class 7 death world, and their history was written in blood. Your fleet is untested, Vex pointed out, though his tone had shifted slightly. There was less dismissal in it now, replaced by cautious interest. Space combat against a coordinated enemy fleet requires experience and established tactical doctrine. Without these, your ships will be destroyed before they can make meaningful impact. Our tactical doctrine has been in development since we first achieved spaceflight, Elena countered. We studied every battle report, every engagement log the Council has ever recorded. We analyzed failures and successes across 200 years of conflicts. We built our entire military structure around what we learned. She tapped her communication badge. Vasquez to Terran Command. Transmit fleet readiness status to the Council chamber. A moment later, new data appeared on the holographic displays throughout the chamber. Ship specifications, crew complements, weapons loadouts, and something that made several delegates lean forward in surprise, theoretical engagement scenarios against various hostile forces, including detailed analysis of Krell tactics. The humans had been preparing for this. The vote. Kelran found his voice again, raw with emotion. I vote yes. Allow the humans to try. My people are dying right now. Every second we spend debating is another life lost. If there is even the smallest chance, I must take it. The chamber fell silent again. All eyes turned to the Zenari ambassador. His crystalline body refracted the chamber's light into rainbow patterns, but his voice carried nothing but desperate determination. Vex looked down at his console, then at Elena, then at the burning colony on the holographic display. This decision requires council vote. All those in favor of authorizing Terran response fleet intervention, signal now. Lights appeared throughout the chamber as delegates registered their votes. Green for yes, red for no, amber for abstention. The voting lasted only 30 seconds. When it finished, Vex announced the results. 14 species vote yes. 9 vote no. 4 abstain. The motion passes. Ambassador Vasquez, you are authorized to commit your fleet to defensive action at Zentera 7. Elena nodded once, sharply. Transmit the colony coordinates to my fleet command immediately. We will need complete tactical briefings on Krell capabilities and any known weaknesses. Ambassador, Vex said carefully, I must be clear about expectations. Your fleet will likely be destroyed. The Council cannot send reinforcements in time to assist. You will be alone against an enemy that has never been defeated in direct combat. Understood, Elena replied. She turned back toward her delegation section, then paused. Military Coordinator Vex, I recommend keeping this communication channel open. The Council should see what humanity does when someone asks for help. With that, she activated her communicator again. Vasquez to Fleet Command. Execute Emergency Response Protocol. Authorization Code Apex Predator Awakening. The response came immediately, crisp and professional. Fleet Command acknowledges. All vessels entering Combat Condition 1. Navigation solutions computed. Slipstream generators charging. We will reach Zentera 7 in 41 minutes. 41 minutes. The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Vex checked his instruments 3 times, certain they were malfunctioning. That is impossible. No known propulsion system can cross 5 light-years in 41 minutes. The energy requirements alone would vaporize any vessel attempting it. Elena looked back at him with an expression that several delegates would later describe as predatory. Humanity spent a century trying to figure out how to kill each other faster and more efficiently. When we stopped fighting ourselves, we applied those same principles to moving through space. We found solutions other species never looked for because they never needed to hunt. She turned back to the holographic display showing Zentera 7. My people will be there soon. Tell your colonists to get to their shelters and stay there. This is going to get very loud. As Elena returned to her delegation section to coordinate with her fleet, the council chamber settled into tense waiting. On the display, the Krell continued their systematic destruction of the colony. Buildings fell. Ships burned. People died. But now, for the first time in the 8 decades since the Krell had begun their terror campaign, something new was about to happen. Predators were coming. And they were hunting.